Welcome back to Trump the Internet, the greatest book reading club, the Donald Trump Book Reading Club, where I read all the failed books of all the people who've tried to take me down, try to get rich by mentioning me, because apparently that's how you get rich. If you can't write a good book, you mention me, and then the critics, they love you and they want to make your book a hit. So this week it's The Room Where It Happened, John Bolton, failed national security advisor, ugly mustache guy. And, normally I wouldn't stick up for Puerto Ricans playing Hamilton, but I don't like that he took that, he took that, The Room Where It Happened, that's from the Puerto Rican Hamilton movie. So we're going to read my favorite part of his book, when he got fired. Didn't resign, got fired. By then I was a private citizen. At about 2:15 p.m. on Monday, September 9th, Trump called me. Everybody calls me Trump in their books. What about President Trump or Mr. Sir Trump, sir? Called me down to the Oval. It's the Oval Office. Not a lot of people know that. Where we met alone. He complained about press coverage on Afghanistan and the cancellation of the Camp David meetings with the Taliban, not to mention the overwhelmingly negative reaction, certainly among Republicans, both to the deal and the invitation of Taliban to Camp David. No, they loved it. It's fake news. Of course, most of the negative reaction he had brought on himself by his ill-advised tweets. My tweets are not only not ill-advised, they're healthy advised. They're the opposite of ill-advised. Perhaps surprisingly, nothing had leaked before the tweets, but they blew the lid off the story. He was furious. He was being portrayed as a fool, not that he put it that way. He said a lot of people don't like you. That's true. That's a fact. I told John Bolton, that ugly walrus mustache, that people don't like him. People love me. They love me. I tell you that. They say you're a leaker and not a team player. I wasn't about to let that go. I said I've been subject to a campaign of negative leaks against me over the past several months, which I would be happy to describe in detail. And I'd also be happy to tell him who I thought the leaks were coming from. Mostly, I believed the leaks were being directed by Pompeo and Mulvaney. Who's Pompeo? Well, as for the claim I was a leaker, I urged him to look for all the favorable stories about me in the New York Times. It's called the failing New York Times. The Washington Post, which is of course called the Amazon Jeff Bezos Washington Post. He left out the full names. It's a terrible book. And elsewhere, which often revealed who was doing the leaking, and you would find none. Trump asked specifically about the meeting with the Taliban, and I reminded him I had said merely the Taliban should go through a powerful magnetometer. I don't know that. I like the word powerful, but I don't know what a magnetometer is. Fake words. What I had said was that I wouldn't have signed the State Department's deal, and Trump pointed his finger at me and said, I agree. Maybe I said that. Then he was off again saying, you have your own airplane, which I explained briefly I did not. I flew on military aircraft on all official trips, following precisely the same policy that governed my predecessors and many other senior officials involved in national security. I didn't write these rules, I followed them. He's always making excuses. Lost my place. It's a lot of words. I give him credit. He wrote a lot of words. It's a bad book full of a lot. It's almost worse. It's such a bad book because if he had kept it short, at least it would have been not as bad, because he just put more bad. It's called badder. I didn't write these rules. I followed them. I knew this specifically was a Mulvaney complaint, the source of a lot of this nonsense. Well, to be honest, nobody liked Mick Mulvaney either. So he's got 1 point. I give Bolton 1 point. You've got all your own people back there on the National Security Council staff, said Trump, another Mulvaney complaint. Of course, Trump's usual complaint was that the NSC staff included too many members of the deep state. A lot of deep state. He's right there. At this point, I rose from the chair in front of the resolute desk. It's a great piece of furniture. Saying, if you want me to leave, I'll leave. Trump said, let's talk about it in the morning. I did. I said that. And then I fired him. That was my last conversation with Trump. I left the Oval Office. It's called an Oval Office. He only says Oval. And it could be Ovaltine. If you don't specify the office, it could be Ovaltine, which is very different from the Oval Office. I left the Oval Office at about 2:30 and returned to my office. I told Cooperman and Tinsley, whoever they are, about the conversation and said that was it as far as I was concerned. I gave my short resignation letter, written several months before, to Christine Samuelian, my assistant, to put on White House letterhead. He should have had to put it on John Bolton letterhead if he didn't want to work at the White House. I said I was going home to sleep on it overnight, but I was ready to resign the next day. In light of the subsequent controversy, I should note that on Tuesday, Cooperman told me that Dan Walsh, one of Mulvaney's deputies, had called him late Monday, returning with Trump on Air Force One from a North Carolina political rally. We had such a great rally. The big crowds, the beautiful crowds. He doesn't mention that. He doesn't mention what great crowds we had. Trump had departed for right after speaking with me. Trump was still spun up about my use of military aircraft, which Walsh had tried to explain to him unsuccessfully, and said to Walsh, "You tell him he's not getting another plane unless I specifically approve it." That's true, I said that. The comment from Trump demonstrates that late on Monday, he still thought I'd be around making requests for military planes after seeing him on Tuesday. On Tuesday, September 10th, in the morning, never forget, I came in at my regular, you didn't say that, I said that, because September 10th is a day you never want to forget. I came in at my regular early hour, fulfilled a few remaining obligations, and then left to be at home when the firestorm hit. I asked Christine to take the letter down to the outer Oval Office, John Bolton, office, you mustachioed loser, and deliver copies to Pence, Mulvaney, Cipollini, and Grisham at 11:30 a.m. I am confident Trump did not expect it, tweeting at about 11:50 to get his story out first. I should have struck preemptively, there's a lesson in that, but I was content to counter-tweet with the facts. I know how it actually ended, and with that, I was a free man again. A terrible book by a terrible person, and he was a failure as a national security person, a failure as trying to bring back the Wilford Brimley mustache. So his book gets a 0 out of 5 Diet Cokes rating, and it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. We hate John Bolton so much, and I totally fired him first. As soon as I heard that he had given in a resignation letter, I went to Twitter and fired him. And that's where it counts. That's why he said he had to counter-tweet. So it's not real until I tweet it. I tweeted that he was fired. I win. Loser Bolton. Book isn't even selling very well. I give it 0 out of 5 Diet Cokes. And that's it for this week's installment. So the next one will be, we're going to finish up with one of the nastiest books you'll ever find. Stormy Daniels, a person that I do not know. We're going to read a passage of it for our great Trump the Internet people. So subscribe, do that thing where they hit the subscribe click, and we'll see what happens.